long meeting with the four
this
leaders
live. This is Governor
from the
Walz
House
talking
and Senate.
about the budget.
Really
may answer some
productive,
questions
I think,
about defeating our future
kind of setting some
jury
goals,
coming back with guilty
talking
verdicts.
about,
Let's listen in.
Pretty heated rhetoric happens outside, and to try and make sure we're matching up what's happening in the room and what's happening outside to build that trust, because we're 6 for 6 doing this, of working together, getting budgets, getting them done together, and I remain very hopeful. We kind of spent today with budget director and the MMB commissioner kind of level setting of where the budget numbers are, going back through at the forecast and kind of a deep dive in what the historical patterns of spending and revenue looks like, to have a starting point. And of course, from that point, you can come up with numerous scenarios on how do you make sure you get a balanced budget and deliver the services to Minnesotans. So I'm really hopeful, really appreciate the leadership came in here. I think now having those 4 leaders in there, I will say I do think it's a real advantage to have Speaker Emeritus Hortman in there, who she has negotiated more of these than anybody. I've had the privilege of doing it for 6 years. She's done it a few more, but I think it's good to bring new blood in to the discussion to represent those caucuses. So we know we've got a divided legislature. We know that we're solid and have a pretty healthy surplus for this year, but I'm very proud that Minnesota looks over the horizon and how do we tackle especially those health and human services cost drivers. So grateful for that. Be glad to take a few questions.
The deadline is 2 months from today.
Yeah.
Is it possible to meet that deadline given the bumps in the road are coming?
Yeah, I do believe that, and I think, this is not all that unusual. We've never had targets before. I'll have out my revised budget here before the end of the week. That's right on pace where it's always been. I think now that the legislature's got it comfort, they're in their power sharing agreement. They need to set some joint targets together. We need to get folks starting to wrap around those. And we're going to have, I think, countless of these meetings where we go back and forth. And so, yeah, look, you have to. And like I said, it's one thing to talk outside that room and the rhetoric. It's another thing to be in leadership, and the people of Minnesota we have a requirement by law to get them a budget, get them a balanced budget, and we have a responsibility to deliver the services we believe. I'm pretty optimistic today.
Is the Senator Eichorn issue something that could be a distraction that slows things down?
No.
And what is your reaction to that?
No. Well, first of all, I want to thank Chief Hodges and the Bloomington Police. Look, this issue of human trafficking we know is a big one. We bipartisanly fight that together. I see Republican leadership came right out and asked the senator to resign as those charges are happening. I've stayed consistent on that when these things have happened. I think when you're in a position of elected office, the bar is higher from you, and I hope they do that. So no, I don't think so. I think there's respect around that issue. I would hope people don't use it for political leverage, but use it as an opportunity to join together, that you cannot prey on our children and expect to get away from it. That's a big deal.
Just to be clear, do you think he should resign?
Was it? Well, that'll be a decision they would make. Yes, I've said that on all of these when they come up.
Will you call for his?
I certainly think so. Well, they have more pull. I don't think Senator Eichorn cares much what I say, but yes, I think he should resign.
Chief Hodges also said that he wants more penalties, increased penalties for crimes like this. Would you be?
Yeah, I'm with him on this. Look, I think we think of this, and I hope it doesn't get that way. This is where the trafficking issue comes in. This is where we're preying on children. This is a very serious crime. I think what's really hopeful about this is the sophistication level of the Bloomington Police and the collaboration with our federal authorities who are working on it. That's good. That's a good thing. I agree with him on that.
Can you talk about later?
No.
On the budget, long-term care providers, nursing homes, we were talking this morning in the Capitol about proposed spending reductions. They kind of can't sustain it. They think they're being too targeted. I know this is one of the fastest areas of growth, but they were saying spread the cuts around more instead of, is that realistic?
Yeah, no, we will. Look, we're not targeting anybody. And these are areas that are my biggest concern, but the fact of the matter is nearly 80% of the budget is in education and health and human services, the biggest growth drivers in this area. We have to figure this out. I certainly hear them. We want to make sure that we're paying our workforce, we're making sure we have safe conditions. I still continue to make the case is that Minnesota is able to do that. We're able to do it well, but we are far outpacing the spending than other states are, and I'm not convinced we're getting all of the impacts that we could still get with some of those savings. So we hear them. Look, this is going to be hard. Nobody wants to do this. It is the easiest thing to be an elected official and say, you want your taxes cut? Yes. You want services cut? Yes, to someone else. That's not how this works. And so these are the areas we can do this. The good news is, if we took the easy way out, we've got a $3 billion surplus. This could be easy and we could be out of here in May. meet our constitutional authority, leave and say we have a balanced budget, but this is over the horizon. And when you look at the charts, it has been growing since 2016 and it'll continue to accelerate. Now is the time to tackle it. We reduce the pain. We make sure that we're not leaving anyone out. No one in Minnesota is talking about rolling back services. So now is the time to do it. And it felt like to me with the leadership, a real honest approach to that. But look, I know it's going to be the advocacy groups. Nobody's going to want to see that cut. And as I continue to say, that's the area where the growth is.
Governor, if Senator Eichorn has voluntarily resigned, do you think he should be afforded the same due process, potential hurdles of action from the ethics committee that Senator Mitchell's been afforded?
No, they should go through whatever they need to do. I mean, they have their process, whatever they want to do. What I'll do is I will follow the Supreme Court's rules once there's a vacancy, and I will follow the timeline that they gave us in this last one exactly to that, which gives me the opportunity to say if the Supreme Court or the courts that are over the executive branch make a ruling, you don't get to question whether that was right or not. You follow it. So I will call for the special election if that's what it is, exactly according to law on when the time is. And I come back to this again. I don't think it'll interfere, as Tom asked. I don't think it's going to be used as a partisan cudgel, which we've seen around here. Some of that happens, but they can use their procedure.
Can you give us some comment about the freedom, the feeding our future birds?
I just heard literally 2 minutes ago. Our team got it when we were in the meeting, and I didn't hear this. This is something that's obviously very close with me because I am furious about this. I have been from the beginning. These are criminals that preyed on a system that was meant to feed children. It was organized. They continued to lie about that. I am so grateful, both starting at the Department of Education, starting at the Department of Agriculture, local and federal officials who put together a strong case that, if I'm to heard it correctly, a guilty count for what appears to be the ringleader of this in Ms. Bach on all counts. I'm incredibly grateful for that. These are people that stole from us. We're trying to recoup as much as we can, and I think it sparked a needed conversation bipartisanly of how do we try and prevent these things. But I remind people on this, no one in state government was involved in any crime. We just need to make sure that we put up more firewalls, more security, more ability to make sure that these criminals aren't able to prey on this. So look, I don't take satisfaction in other people's misfortune, but I'm incredibly grateful for the justice system that these people are going to pay the price that they so rightfully should.
Governor, you called for Senator Mitchell to resign previously. Do you still stand by that as well?
Yeah, I didn't change on that. I think there's a due process. They're going to have to make those decisions. Those are decisions for them to make. I would hold myself to a higher standard on this. An expectation in elected office. I've talked about this since I was in. I think that includes showing your tax returns, not trading in stocks, doing those things that stands you above this. They'll decide that. I think they should make that decision. I do believe, though, that I'm not making a judgment. They should have their day in court, and they are innocent until proven guilty. But I also think there's a different responsibility when you're in elected office.
Governor, in these budget discussions, Republicans will often point out that we have a quite large surplus. Most of it was spent. The budget grew 40%. This current budget, largely driven by some of that spending. Do you have any regrets about
how much of it was driven by the 23 budget?
The growth?
Yes, the spending in the 23 budget.
A lot of it was one-time spending.
Yes.
So do you have any regrets about not saving some of
No,
that
we negotiated.
spending?
No, we negotiated. We did save. We have maximum savings. We paid back over $3 billion to the trust fund. We paid off U.S. Bank Stadium. We returned checks to the workers. Let's not rewrite history here. The Republicans were asking to give all that money back to tax cuts to the highest taxpayers. They were asking us to give it in different areas. So this rewriting history, they didn't have a little piggy bank in the Republican caucus that said keep this money. The fact of the matter is we legally can't keep the money. We weren't going to save it. We did our maximum amounts of savings. We invested in things that are growing Minnesota's economy, growing business, is improving people's lives, improving health care, and those were things that we made. So let's just be very clear. The budget surplus the budget shortfall over the horizon, a very small percentage was new things that were added. The bulk was already there and we've known about it. It was created bipartisanly the deficit, and it needs to be solved bipartisanly. And the Republicans are going to find that out. And I would ask all of you, that needs to be reported correctly of what happened in the 22 session. What was one-time spending? What did it go to? Did they disagree with paying back the UI trust fund? Did they disagree with giving checks back to people? Their complaint was the checks weren't big enough. So I don't quite understand how you were going to give bigger checks, and now you're saying that you would have saved it all and you would have used it for this. That is simply not correct on how this all worked.
Republicans say that they don't want to pass a budget with any new taxes. Is that realistic given the deficit coming in the tails and the state's financial picture?
No, I think it is realistic. I don't have anything other than I expanded and reduced the rate on the sales tax, which is a reduction in rate. It expanded the base for the reality of services over goods purchasing. And then I actually have what I consider a major feature of my budget is the R&D tax credit, the refundable 25% of the tax credit, which folks like 3M, Medtronic, Anderson Windows have all talked to us about. This is a big deal. So no, I think it's totally realistic. I'm not asking to balance this budget by increasing revenue. I'm asking to balance this budget by curbing long-term spending and continuing to invest in the things that grow our economy. So no, I think in this case, like I said, I'm probably fairly closely aligned with them that this is not a revenue-raising budget. This is about cost containment in areas that for over a decade has been on the horizon. Now's the time to take care of it.
Governor, can you talk about some of the town halls that you've been doing and address, some of the criticisms that you've gotten from some state Republicans in regards to doing that during the middle of the session?
Did they want to meet Saturday night? Is that what they said? They wanted to meet Saturday night and Friday night. Look, I think they'll find anything to criticize about. I have a national platform. We've got Republican folks that don't want to address the illegal access of our Social Security records, the firing of VA employees, a rogue administration with folks that are unelected making decisions about weather forecasting and everything to farm tariffs. And people want to be heard. So I said I would go out there, lift these platforms up, and let them talk about it. And I think that's a fair place to be. Are they saying they miss my company and they want to be with me more? They don't like me that well, but there's certainly not the case of me being here. We do the meetings. I have a budget that's been out. I'll have a revised budget. This is a good start, and I don't want to poison that well. I think a lot of that is just rhetoric. I'll be here as much as they need me to. We got to get done by the 19th. I think we will.
Your trouble hasn't just been the town halls, though. Have you had to cancel or reschedule any meetings to accommodate some of your out-of-state travel? Business leaders, nonprofit?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I had a pretty full budget. I don't think I've ever been accused of not seeing a lot of people. I was with a group of business leaders the other night. I'll be at an iftar tonight. I think I'm meeting with the business roundtable tomorrow. I think I don't think anybody's accused us of that. Yeah, one more.
Governor, do you think you'll get a bonding bill done through the legislature this year, and how significant was it for Minnesota communities that it didn't get done?
I think it's always significant. Yes, I think the answer is yes on this. With the new forecast, I think I shrunk mine from 770 to 700, and then there's some on the geo bonds. I think these are really important. What I say about this, the bonding bill is very popular amongst folks. It's important. We know that when we don't do a bonding bill, those projects, whether they be water treatment plants or whether they be buildings at MSU, Mankato, they only become more expensive, and the need is still there. So yeah, I do believe we'll get it done, and I don't think it's okay to not do them. I'm kind of when I got here, the one that they said we do bonding bills every other year. I'm kind of under the assumption that it's better and more consistent if you do smaller bonding bills and you do them every year, because it lets the queue then get whittled down a little bit faster. So appreciate all you here. I hope we're going to have a lot more of these where we'll continue to meet. So thank you all.